Welcome to our Thursday subscriber stream here on lichess and Twitch. I'm International Master William Paschall, here with the Panda.
Hey guys, I hope you brought some cool games with crazy moves.
So the Panda is adjusting to life here in Budapest with me. We'll be here for about 6 more weeks, guys. Then we'll flip it back to the United States. Welcome everyone to the stream. Who is that? I can't read it. Need new glasses. Spectacular Camel. UB. What is a UB? Alright. Spectacular Camel, welcome back. Hope you're feeling better. Good to see you, my friend. Actually, Spectacular Camel has a game in the queue, but he asked me to hold off a little bit on analyzing that. So we've got a couple other players, guys. Astrobait as well, also in the list. Thanks, everyone. It's Danish for Yahoo. Yahoo as in the website, or Yahoo for like yes. Yahoo. A Yahoo is actually some sort of mythological New Zealand, Australian creature or something. Anyway, what's up, peoples? We're gonna be analyzing some games. I asked everybody in the subscriber email to send me games and submit them to my messages here on lichess. I don't think everyone's used to my new time. Mr. Coffee, what's up? Because I didn't get too many submissions for this week. I think we'll get used to it. Clash Kid resubscribed. He just subscribed with a tier 1 sub. Subscribed for 14 months in a row. That might be a record. I don't know. Not too many people have 14 months in a row. I think Clash Kid, you know, you might be one of the only ones, if not the only one, that is a really faithful 14 in a row. Even when he wasn't able to watch the streams in my USA time streams, he still kept subscribing. So welcome everybody. Please please submit games. We have time to do like 10 games. I try to spend the better part of 15 minutes, per game, something like that. Someone sent the link to me for analysis. You're not allowed to speak on lichess. Oh no. It's alright, just give me the link, Clash Kid. I can directly grab it. Unlike my old system where I had 2 machines, I can now use the same machine to just grab it, I think. So you can actually give it to me. Soltigo's not here. Just put it in the chat if you're allowed to chat, or send it to me directly. Oh, I got a message from Ubatis. Alright. Clash Kid. What am I gonna do with it though? If you're not, can I copy and paste that? It's not letting me copy and paste there. Copy and then paste. Alright, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna do this? Paste and go. But we're not ready for this yet. So what am I gonna do? Put this in a study for a few minutes from now. Let's add a new study here. Alright. Clash Kid analysis game. Create this. Alright. Whatever. We'll say that for a few minutes down the line for Clash Kid. And be able to get back there when I need to. Alright, Clash Kid, thank you for submitting that. Twitch is merciless. But freak what? Yes, you got a notification. Why is the stream 720 picks today as well? I don't know. Nothing should have changed. What are my settings? When I set the settings to Shark, the thing is, I didn't change anything. 1280 by 720. Alright. But if you have any questions about the setup to Shark, send me a message on lichess. I'd rather work on it not live during the stream. But if you have a problem or an issue or a suggestion or anything you want to change, or you think I should change about the stream, feel free to just send me a message on lichess rather than try to work it out while we're live on the air here. Alright, going back to my my Thursday analysis game. Astrobate, I've played 2 excellent games since I selected Thursday analysis. Uh-oh. Alright, what are we going to get started with then? Astrobate, actually, it's your choice, man. You're first in the list for today, so what do you think you want to do? There's a new stream layout. Yeah, it's with some help of Saltigo. We added the overlay, and I'll try to get, like, you know, alerts and donation notifications set up in the next week. So Astrobate, do you still want to stick with the game that you selected? Alright, I'm not sure. I'm just asking. Ponda's center stage. Yeah, Ponda's here with me. We did the Ponda Arena on Tuesday.
My first ever arena.
Go ahead. I'll run the 1 Sicilian. Alright. Let's see if we got it here. How about a Sicilian? Thursday stream choice for analysis. That's the game. Alright, this is Astrobate's project for the week. I told him in the last, I think last Thursday, that he needs to learn how to play the black side of the Sicilian properly in the opening. So he's been working on his check Benoni, but it's necessary to know how to deal with e4, obviously. So we're gonna take a look at this first. Actually, we just talked about it. I recommended Astrobate to play the Sveshnikov, which I think is strong. It's one of the best systems for black. He kind of likes to play e5. I thought it makes sense. So here we see knight f3, knight c6, and the guy plays bishop c4. I used to just be completely dismissive of this, but you know, the more I face it here against amateurs who don't know theory, the more I realize that this system is not so bad for white. Even playing it on move 2. The Ponda is a base. Who is that? Is that past pawn 99? We got a submission from him as well. But if other players want to submit games, Mr. Coffee, normally you're kind of shy and don't submit a game, but feel free to do so. All right. It's interesting here, like, Stockfish is suggesting knight f6. This is a move I like to play just because, like, beginners tend to allow you to play this kind of e5, d5 variation. This tricky player, the guy Chichok, I guess he lives in, like, Sweden. He's originally from, I'm not sure where, but it's a tricky guy. He owned me in some Blitz games years ago. So this idea I like of getting these type of positions where you just steal the initiative completely. But white doesn't have to allow that. I mean, actually, e5 isn't even necessary. You know, so I just don't think that like knight f6 is really a big deal. You know, well, you just put your knight on f6 and then what? You know, you can play like e6 and try to play d5. But it's still equal for white. You know, how to get an advantage. I was actually talking about this with Yabatis, with Yabatis as well. So this opening is plaguing a lot of people. In this case, Astrobate is actually a guy who played bishop c4 himself, so it's kind of funny. Alright, so e6 is a good move. d4 right away, and the beauty of this now is that the dude just simply transposed into kind of an open Sicilian. But bishop c4 is not a very good move against e6 type of setups. You know, you can play it against the Skaveningen, you can play it against the Dragon, you can play it against the Najdorf, but you can't really play bishop c4 against the early e6 systems because the bishop is just basically dead against the e6 pawn. It's like a, I don't know, Smith-Morrow where white's, you know, not really playing down a pawn or something. I don't know. Look how few games there are in this position. Bishop c4 is not a move you would really choose to play normally in this type of structure. Mr. Coffee. Oops. Alright, I just opened up something weird. Alright, Mr. Coffee, I would not... No, I would, but I don't have the ability or reasonable game at the moment. Cool. Alright. So, knight takes d4. Now, what happened? Bishop c5. Bishops before knights. No. Wait. Is that how it goes? How does it go, guys? Knights before bishops. These stupid catchphrases actually have a lot to them. So, I don't know. This is an experimental move. I think Yabatis would like it. He was making a case for bishop c5 today. But I'm a big believer in fundamentals. I like knight f6. That's definitely a good move. And another move that looks interesting is a6, probably. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Queen c7. You know, it may look strange to invite knight b5, but I don't think white can actually do anything with that. And you might have some ideas against this bishop. You have pressure on the diagonal here as well. So that gives you at least 1, 2, 3 solid options for black. Okay, bishop c5 is not bad. I mean, you are challenging his most powerful piece, the knight on d4. I understand this move, c3. Maintaining the strong piece on d4. It makes a lot of sense. Alright, what don't I like about bishop c5? It's a little exposed on that square, perhaps. But it's still not a bad move. And now we've got a very typical move here by white. Bishop g5. There are some strong players who like to put their pieces... the John Nunn system, basically. LPDO. Loose pieces drop off. So... this is a situation where we're virtually on the verge of winning material, because these pieces are all like unprotected. b2 is unprotected, c4 is unprotected, g5 is unprotected. Like white seems to be a serial unprotected pieces guy. How can we do it though? Can we get some kind of tactic? Bishop takes d4, c takes d4, queen a5 check, bishop d2, and then queen b6. I was thinking about this because it's like a double attack on b2 and d4. Actually triple attack because we're on e4 as well. So you would force white to play this as a pawn sacrifice here. My concern is that in the end, you know, maybe it's a sound pawn sacrifice because you're going to have to give up that dark square bishop. That's the defender of the dark squares. I wouldn't want to have black against like Michael Adams after bishop d3, queen takes d4, bishop c3, and the queen retreats. White has some compensation for the sacrifice pawn. Anyway, okay, it's just one possibility. Bishop g5 and astrobate goes here. Yeah, and this is not a constructive move. This is a combative move, and in fact it probably is a mistake because I view this bishop on c4 as being badly placed. I think this piece is actually quite badly placed. It's doing nothing, you know. Pseudo sacrifices on e6 are not going to hurt anybody. It's actually vulnerable. It's not protected. So don't play knight e5, astrobate. Develop your pieces. You're moving the same piece twice. Guys, we're doing game analysis with the subscribers. This is our first game for today. We're going to be streaming for 2.5 hours tonight, as usual. Hopefully, we get in as many as 10 games, as much as we can. But this is a mistake that actually forces white to correct a dysfunction in his position. You're literally going out of your way to say, hey, dude, your bishop's on a bad square. Why don't you put it on a good square? And he's like, oh, yeah, thanks, man. Thank you for helping me like to realize that my bishop was on a bad square. I'm going to put it on a good square now. So he plays bishop e2. Thank you. Okay. In the meantime, you like put your knight on a square where he can pummel you with f4. So it's like a role reversal. You know, you're actually helping him and putting a piece of your own in harm's way. Knight g6, preempting. Actually, not a bad move. You're threatening to play h6 now. But in fact, I mean, you could have played h6 right away. Yeah. This is concretely a mistake. You need to call him into question here. Call the question. According to Robert's Rules of Order. Dude is going to have to take an f6 not to lose material. And then you take with the queen, you stop f4, and you play g5 if necessary. Like, A lot of people will think this is like extreme, but I think you should seriously consider playing g5 right here. Maybe it's too risky. I'm not really sure, but because he's given up his dark squared bishop, I would consider this move to be fully justified. One of the beauties of the Sicilian is the fact that you got those pawns in the center that make it possible, you know, make it possible to leave the king in the center for a long time. Alright, Mr. Acerbate, don't develop preempting him. Then he just drops a pawn. Thank you very much. And this is a very sensible move, sir. Coming back to e7. Looks like a cautious but reasonable approach. He just trades his bishop for no reason. If I'm like his coach, I'm pulling my hair out right now. Why would you do that? Like, just give up this valuable bishop on g5 for nothing. Bishop takes, knight d2. Castles here, one move threat. Not a bad decision. If you weren't up a pawn here, I would condemn you for playing d5. But since you're up a pawn already, it's probably like somewhat in your interest to just simplify the game. My concern is that he can play knight takes f6 check and f4, f5 really quickly and have some serious compensation here. So the engine does prefer bishop e7, and he's going to roll with f4, f5, and there could be some problems, technically. You're going to have to defend carefully if white might have some threats with the f-file, but it's probably not that big a deal. So you play d5, he takes, no he doesn't, alright. Yeah, no, he's missing the boat now. He has to take on f6, and he has to do it now, and he has to play f4. Like, there's just no other way. And now you see, like, the structure. He's got this kind of Nimzovich-y control of e5. And that's essentially compensation for the fact that he's down a pawn. As long as... Okay, basically, what's black's advantage? He has a pawn up. So you have 5 against 4 on the same side of the board. If you can't use your kingside majority, then white isn't really worse, basically. Yeah, this is a good move. You have to watch for f5, but it doesn't look like a problem. Probably not bad for you anyway. Okay, Acerbate. So he doesn't take, he plays this. Knight c5. You kick him out. That's fine. Here. Trade pieces. It's good for me. Here, takes, knight f3. Looks like a really good game so far. Back to c7. Bishop b5. a6. Look at that center. Oh man, this is brutal. e5. It's like over now. He has one tactic, knight takes e5 and queen h5, but you have f5. So you gotta watch for that, but it just doesn't work. Why is it doing this to me? Stop doing this. So this just doesn't work because of f5, fortunately for you. Well, actually, yes, bishop takes f5. Let's take a closer look here. Is this absolutely not on? Bishop takes h2 check. How does this work? Queen d6 check. f4. And then you can play g6. That's a long calculation to have to come up with. Bishop takes h2 check. Man, not easy. So he could have tried it. That was his best shot. What would Grishuk play here against Nakamura? Would he play e5? I think the Grishuk would have done something like queen f6. You know, just to be on the safe side. Maybe not e5. We'll play e5 maybe next move or the move after that. e5, bishop c2. Pass pawn. What's up? All right. You're getting a little inflexible with the pawns here. So I like the way they're posted here on d5 and they're next to each other. When you play the e4, it's very committal. You're giving him a good square for his knight. So it's kind of a commitment. Rook a7. Acerbate is playing the check Benoni again. You have a downright... Okay, this is becoming kind of a downright obsession with Rook a7. Now, this is... You're taking it too far. You've fallen in love with this like kind of fancy maneuver, and this is just this move is 100% fancy play syndrome now, okay? Get it out of your head. It's just one theme. Don't try to do it every game. This is not the right move. You got a million moves. Queen h4, queen g5, f5. Well, not f5. Even f5, yeah, because like he never has this. Because the bishop takes h2 check. And the tactic queen d6. Paschall99, thank you for the donation. Oh, that's Percy Hepworth. I'm sorry. You guys are all purple. No, Paschall is 99. Percy Hepworth, sorry for misidentifying you. But it's a 100 donation from Percy Hepworth. Thank you. I got different names that I can't read with the fluorescent letters. So, alright guys, it just looks good. Okay, I wouldn't push the pawn so quickly. This is a fancy move, and then he just weakened his king side. But, you know, when it really came down to the critical moment, Acerbate went for it. Now, g3, he sacks a piece here. Did anybody see the Russian Super Final? Yesterday was the final. I was interested because I had been covering some of the games for chesslecture.com, and there was a playoff between Andreikin and Yakovenko. Rapid games, 2 rapid games for the Russian Super Final. And the final game was Yakovenko as black sacrificed a piece on g3 against Andreikin and lost. It was ugly. He got tempted into doing this kind of sacrifice, but it didn't really work, and he was just busted. The only name that matters is the Tushar, but it's okay for me now. No, now. Hanging pawn stream for me. Hanging pawn stream fine for me. Is it streaming laggy for me, or is it Slaggie's internet? No. I've got a 66 ping. I really don't have any problems today. Let me check. We've got no drop frames. No, we're fine. We're actually doing really good. No, it's just got to be on your end. So this is speculative. It's tempting to sacrifice, and if I was low on time, in a blitz game, I would have probably done it myself. But you gotta be patient, Acerbate. You know, you're not like you're totally crushing the guy. You're up a pawn. The rest of your pieces aren't really fully developed, and this bishop isn't going anywhere. So, I mean, this is the point where you could have played this differently. You know, if you played maybe like queen g5 or something, and bring your rook over to d8, and you got a rook lift, like rook d6, rook h6. This would have been a lot better than playing rook a7. You didn't actually bring your pieces into the attack. So now he actually has to sack a piece, and it's not quite enough, it looks like. I don't see the next piece, you know. This rook can't help, this rook can't help, and this bishop can't help. So essentially your queen is like attacking by itself. The only hope is like f5, rook f6, rook h6 to deliver a mate like that. Yeah, I mean, this is like losing for you when you take on f3. I was thinking maybe you could try to play f5 here. And this is really the only way to like imagine directly continuing your attack. But I think you've gone over the line now. It's actually like you have to probably agree to a repetition draw. And you didn't want to accept that. But taking here doesn't help your cause. You know, now he just takes back and he's totally winning. It's not easy, but he's up a piece for what, like 3 pawns. White is better because your pieces aren't in the game. Look at these guys. Come on. They're not in the game at all. Yeah. Now white has attacking chances. Well, that was crazy. He walked out into the danger zone. Isn't that like an 80s song? It's just an illusion. You know, there's nothing on the long diagonal. So I think, you know, this image of the bishop on b7 made him not want to put his king on g2, but it's like, it's absolutely a joke. I mean, king g2 and black can resign. Because he's bringing the rook and he's going to actually checkmate black down the h file with king g2 and rook h1. But this is crazy. He goes from like winning to trouble. Very good move, Acerbate. Good job. Good job correcting your mistake. And he loses this valuable knight on d4. You have queen c4 check, winning a piece like immediately. No? At the very least, you should play that. This is more unclear. Again, you have queen c4 check. He saw it this time. And now it's just too much material. So that was kind of a lucky, and this is a good move, like guarding yourself laterally. There's the rook a7, making it look good. Oh. Even a little dangerous. It's cool, though. You can put your king on h8, I guess, and you're going to be alright, man. But you were taking a real liberty there. Like, not necessary. I wouldn't play d4 here. That's really just creating a new avenue for his pieces, you know, to hurt you on the b3 diagonal. Safety first, Asterbate. Alright, good struggle, though. Congratulations. We're going to finish that game up, guys. Alright, let's get this out of here. That was that. Now, who did I go to next? So, Pass Pawn 99 submitted a game. Pawn Pusher. We'll do Asterbate after that. Excuse me. We'll do Yobatis after that. And, oh, Chess Base. How does this look on the stream? You like to make things difficult for me, huh? How can I move it over or something? How does that look if I move it over? Yeah, that doesn't work. I have to actually adjust my... Nils, what's up? Alright, I'm going to have to adjust the board itself here. The window capture. It was unlocked anyway. Why is this not helping? No. Not window capture. Okay, why is this doing this? Why is window capture not helping? Oh my god, how am I gonna fix this? Wait. Why can't I pick it up and move it? What is it doing? Let me see, guys. How can I move this? Does anyone have an idea? It's acting really, really weird. Alright, transform. That's a little bit better. Now I can move it. Okay. I finally did it. I'm sorry, guys. What happens if you click the floppy? Oh man, that's old school. That's old school. That's how old Chess Base is, man. I mean, they just don't care about keeping up with modern world at Chess Base. They're gonna milk it the way it is till the end of time. Alright, it's Tactical Wizard against Pass Pawn 99. Hopefully I can play through the moves. Can I flip the boardy? Yes. No game analysis here, no engine. Alright, Pass Pawn 99 is black against Tactical Wizard. The good old Tory attack, Mr. Coffee. I see now, it's not what the opponent does, it's what he can do. No given counterplay unless it's a... Yeah, absolutely, man. That's prophylactic chess. This is the latest Chess Base 14, though? Seriously? Well, it's not actually Chess Base 14, though. I mean, what you're showing me is like a viewer Chess Base reader, you know. I mean, Chess Base is pretty good. But I think their internet, you know, functionality and, I mean, there are a lot of things they can improve the multimedia side or whatever, you know. Chess Base itself, like the program, is probably awesome. But as far as interfacing with stuff like this, it's not, you know, the greatest. For example, if you buy if you use Chess Base Lite, you can't copy and paste like the PGN or even the moves. You know, I can't click. I don't think I can. You see, I can't like copy and paste these. They don't want you to, because they want you to buy like the real thing. I didn't realize you just wanted moves. Is that the best for you next time? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can just send me the moves on lichess next time, or just copy them over. But it's cool. It's cool. It's fine. I just like bitching about chess base. All right. So you played h6 here, which was a good move. Everybody sees this clearly, right? I can't make arrows and circles, which I don't think I can. Maybe I could, but I don't know how to actually. I'm not really using this. I don't know. Can I do that here? No clue to learn how to do that. Anyways, yeah, it's a good Trompowsky after h6. Bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, e4. It's like an e6 Trompowsky. As long as the white can't play the classical lines with knight c3 and f4, he doesn't really have anything. So basically, bishop h4 is like forced. But now you played something I've never seen anyone try, like the g5. I think, you know, in this case, we have this classic... I had the classic situation of the threat is stronger than the execution. So this is something that works, I guess, in all games, chess and poker to name two. But I think theory might recommend b6 here, and another possibility is c5. Look, I mean, you could play d5, but honestly, if you wanted to play d5, I mean, probably wouldn't even bother with h6. So I think either b6 or c5. Basically, if you play b6, for example, then he plays e4, then you play g5. You know, you had the threat, so he's not really threatening to play e4. So this g5 right away, though, I mean, it's pretty extreme, you know. I mean, you're really weakening your king side. I just don't think it's worth it, you know, to get his bishop pair or whatever. You can probably just about get away with it. The other thing that bothers me is that white can maybe put the bishop on e5. In other words, if you try this, what you're doing, he could consider trying to put his bishop on e5. Maybe induce you to make a strange move like rook g8 or f6. Some kind of move you don't really want to make. So knight e4. I think this is too extreme. If you look in the opening explorer, I don't think you're going to find a lot of games. I don't believe. I mean, it's possible, but I don't believe too many people would have gone this far. g5 looks really reckless. I mean, honestly, you're starting with a conservative system. I mean, e6 in the first place is a sort of conservative move, and then you're playing like h6 and g5. It's pretty crazy. If knight h5, bishop e5. So I agree that probably knight e4 is better than knight h5. I wonder what white should do here, though. You know, maybe like knight c3. Looks like a good move to try to challenge you centrally. The c3 feels a bit passive. d6. And now there's no more bishop e5. Bishop d3. Knight takes g3, h takes g3, and bishop g7. So now it's reached the point where white has reacted kind of routinely. And I think, objectively, you know, you've gotten away with this g5. It's almost like justified at this point. You got the bishop pair, you got a kind of hippo sort of setup. He's got to be a little bit careful about, let's say, weakening the dark squares, so he can't do anything like super active. Still, white is very solid, but he's not necessarily a lot better. Knight bd2, and now choosing a setup here for black is not easy. I wouldn't want to just castle into knight takes g5. That's not really a threat, though. I mean, you could actually castle. It looks dangerous. So you want a flexible move. Knight c6 looks okay. I mean, I guess there are alternatives. Knight c6. Yeah, I mean, where is it going, though? You know, is it coming back here, perhaps? Knight c6 is no doubt a very standard move. I'm just looking for alternatives. I mean, the b6, bishop b7 certainly seems like it might be okay. To do the double fianchetto. The hippo here, it seems relevant. You can do the hippo. It sounds like a dance or something. with like knight d7, maybe a6, b6, bishop b7. Another move is queen e7. White played this well, c3, bishop d7. I mean, this is not a bad move. I'm looking at like b4, and white will grab space. And now I played e4, which changes the structure significantly. So, what to do? Yeah, castling queenside. Looks like good play by both sides so far. Castles, castles. And then you did a really mental move here, f5, which in spirit I guess is alright, but at least your heart's in the right place to try to play aggressively, undermine his center. Tactically it's justified, I guess, but I'm not really sure like what good is going to come out of playing, essentially what good is going to come out of playing f5. I mean, we play f5 here. Are we, you know, like utopia would be what? Like we play f5 and then what is our plan, you know? I don't really see how it's going to work out to our favor, sort of like no matter what happens after that. I mean, I guess in a perfect world we could play f5, play rook f8 or something, then somehow get pressure down the f file. So if it were me, I would play king b8 and just just chill out, you know, and wait for the right moment. You have a lot of flexibility. The onus is on him to do something. You have the two bishops in the long term. I would be patient here and play king b8 and await developments. Okay, f5 seems very, very risky. The main problem with f5 is that it doesn't actually threaten anything, you know? Like, he doesn't have to take. He doesn't have to do anything. Rook here is a very sensible move. And that's, you know, the question is, what do we do? Maybe moving the queen. I don't like the queen here. I was thinking about moving the queen to like f6 or f7. f6, I guess, on the dark square seems like the most logical. Okay, Nils added a game for game analysis. Welcome everybody to the stream. Hey, what's up, guys? What's that? Hey guys, what's up? All right, let me lock this window capture. So, yeah, I think just waiting here. This is not a terrible move, rook e8. But I guess I prefer the f file, because I know the f file will be ours when we play f takes e. When he plays queen d1. Queen f7 is a good move. I mentioned this earlier. I like this square. Now he just takes, and then bishop c4, fine. Queen f6, another move I mentioned a minute ago. And he shifts over to a4. And what we're seeing here is a theme where, you know, essentially the structure is fixed. I think the knights are better in fixed structures. The real question mark of this position is your bishop on g7. It's tied down to defending h6, and it's not got a lot of play. I mean, the pawn on d4 pretty much stuffs it permanently. So, if I had my druthers, I would play g4, h5, and probably bishop h6 at some point here in the near future. King b8, good move. And now bishop b5. And now we have a tactical problem. We have a very serious issue here. I mean, you're lucky if he doesn't have a sacrifice on a6, to be perfectly honest. It might even work. But it looks like a6, bishop takes a6, capture, capture, knight a7 holds for black. So a6 holds. And then he has to move the bishop. Oh, now you have a tactic, no? Oh no, your knight's not, your bishop's not protected. So bishop d3, no discoveries, and you play queen f7. And bishop c4, queen f6. And he doesn't want a repetition. So he plays what? d5. Knight e5. So this is a big transformation for the position, and he's threatening bishop takes a6. So there's not much to do. Okay, we can move our king, we can play, but this is a very serious issue. I mean, I think that he's threatening knight d4. Knight d4 is going to be pretty brutally placed. But let's say you play king a8 or king a7 here. It's possible, you know. Okay, you took here, it's a very natural move. The problem is now he's threatening knight a5. Classic for the players who like to play the Trompowsky or the Tory attack. They like to have these knights. They like fixed structures. I dealt with a lot of guys, particularly from Vietnam, in the first Saturday tournaments. Ngoc Tronkson, and some others who played a lot of these. They were all playing the Trompowsky and getting this. They like these structures. They were training together and playing the same kind of positions. And this looks like one of those. Oftentimes the two knights are better than or as good as the two bishops. So in other words, it's better to have two knights than a bishop and knight when facing the two bishops. And I think this is one of those cases here where your bishops are okay defensively, but they're really not that strong. That gives you an advantage like you would think. There's a huge threat of knight a5. This is a big deal. So this is forced. Knight a5. And now you just committed suicide, it looks like. Perhaps not, but I don't think I would have even considered. The problem is, maybe you did consider. Maybe you have a serious problem here. Maybe you're almost busted. I didn't realize how bad knight d4 is. So if you play bishop c8, white has knight d4, threatening knight c6. Even that might not be that doing anything, though. It's kind of messed up. But imagine, like white had several moves in a row. Bishop c8, knight d4, knight d c6 check. You could just play king a8. He still doesn't have a knockout in that position, believe it or not. So b6 looks like a bad move. And dude just finds this brutalizer. I mean, knight c6 check is certainly okay for white. This is what you anticipated, probably, and you're okay, perhaps, after that. You know, you could play, like, knight c6, bishop takes c6, b takes c, and even queen g6 to just allow knight d4 and bishop takes d4, take his knight out, basically. So he plays queen c4. That's a devastating blow. And I guess you have to play rook c8. What are you going to do now? King b8? Exchange rooks first. Now king b8 can't be played because queen takes a6, or what? Can we play king b8 here? Well, no, I mean knight. So knight d4 is coming in, or what? This looks very bad. It's probably lost for black. The white played brutally. I mean, he might even be using an engine. I can't check this, but I don't like giving up the file. You know, this looks like we lost ground. Now, one would imagine like knight c6, but I guess you just take the knight there. So he has to do this. If you take it, I think if you take, you're like losing on the E line, practically. This is really nasty. Rook e8, rook takes e8, bishop takes e8, and now knight e6. And this is over. Well, I'm not giving up yet. Maybe you lost on time here? Is that what occurred? I mean, knight b4 is a massive threat. Yeah, I guess there's no defense. No defense to c7, huh? No, you just resign, huh? White could be an engine. You'd have to actually, really conduct a little more detailed analysis. But White's play was, I don't know though. He may have made some imprecisions. It was a strong game though. If he's not, then he's definitely just a really good player. I mean, this was a nice positional game. But I think that the biggest thing there was when you played King B8, Bishop D5, A6, Bishop D3. Gotta find a way out here somehow. We can't exchange wholesale. We could just trade all the rooks, we'd probably be alright. Queen F7 was logical. Then Bishop C4. I'm not saying he's an engine, I'm just saying it's a possibility that he's an engine, Queen D8 instead of Rook C8, so you can now take knight on D4. Yeah, that would be huge. Let me see what Clash Kid said. I don't like exchanging rooks. So in other words, like Queen D8 right here. I mean, White's always going to be better if we play just a simple position like Knight C6 check, Bishop takes Queen D8, Knight C6 check, Bishop takes C6, Queen takes C6. Even in the heavy piece ending, like White is always going to be better. But yeah, it's okay. It's better than what happened. But I guess my first inclination is to not play B6. How bad is it after Bishop C8 instead of playing? Admittedly, it looks quite bad. After Bishop C8, it's very ugly, but I'm not sure if it's over. Alright guys, that's all I can do for this game. The best we could do. Going back to the account here. Tobias is next. Thanks everyone for watching and subscribing. Thanks for supporting the stream. Asterbait, Merle Dixon, Chess Patzer, Wales made donations this week. But that was pretty nasty. But I mean, you brought it on yourself to a large degree. I mean, Knight E4, G5 and Knight E4 was an extremely risky system of play, I think. Better to just play like simply B6. How many games are there? Not too many. Not too many games. Rapid top 50. What is that? Rapid top 50 player. Yeah, that's me. All right. Nils Ubatis. Ubatis is next. All right. This is some sort of, looks like a Sicilian. It is. Oh, this isn't. No, I'm confused. Oh, Ubatis just sent me the game from Clash Kid. Alright, I got confused. Alright. I'm looking for Ubatis' game. Confused me. Wait, Ubatis' game is in the Ubatis study. Alright, let's go to his account, look in his study. No, Ubatis, where was your game again? I'm losing my mind. I'm getting brain fog. Nils, not too many games. We got you and Clash Kid. But I want to do Tobias first. If you guys want, it's not too late to submit a game. We've got plenty of time today. Actually, I have a record number of subscribers. But unfortunately, with my time schedule changing, I think a lot of people aren't really used to the streams being when they are. And so, interesting games. All right, thank you, Ubatis. Okay, so which one is it? Was it Gaz Dixon? No, it was Podu. I can't remember now. Wait, who said interesting games? Yeah, no, he's... It's his studies called Interesting Games, Clash Kid. Which game in Interesting Games? Crushing Wins. 2-word. You choose. I chose or choose? Yeah, that one we know. Angola M. You don't have a suggestion? Come on, I can't think. Interesting games. Do we do Gaz Dixon? Seen that. Been there. Podu. We've also seen that. Angola. We've seen that. The two bottom ones. Alright. Yeah, alright, we'll do this one. The theme of the day. So, here we go again. Actually, Yabatis played c5. He's been playing a lot of Nimzovich defense in the last year, but he's mixing in the c5. Now, bishop c4. And we were just talking about this, guys. You know, it's not that bad for white, and it's like the most popular opening on lichess under 2000 level. It's just a defensive system. So e6, d3, and as you can see here, this move is the Chichak, which we mentioned like half an hour ago. Chichak, I think he's like 5-0 against me on ICC. Just was like I couldn't solve that guy. He was really tricky in blitz, but very fast too. This move is like more aggressive. It sort of pressures black down the e file. I kind of like that. All right, so instead your opponent plays d3. Normal, you know, defensive setup. And here's the classic situation where, like, when you're playing black, you're tempted to play d5. Okay, my problem with this is, like, typically what happens. Yes, it's our favorite structure, the symmetry. Again, we get this stupid symmetrical structure where it's really not a lot of dynamism going on, and that's my problem with this. Kwa Win Lei here played. There was All Win Lei or some kind of guy who was like overrated. No, I would think just bishop b3. You know, this guy actually against Fomin played bishop b5, but that doesn't make sense. You know, why do you want to play bishop b5 and trade off black's like bad bishop? It seems strange to play bishop b5 here. I don't know. You know, this d5, it just doesn't really do it for me. So, Yabatis plays a6, knight c3, b5. Here's a game Eugenio Torre played in 1977. Damn, dude, that's getting back there. That's before my time. At least before, gonna reveal any birthdays, but it is before I started playing in chess tournaments, thankfully. I'm still not that old yet. And there's a game that Trotar played here with this guy in 2009. And we get to this position that was actually in a previous game on one of our analysis streams, oddly enough. Maybe an Asterbate game. So bishop b3, bishop b7, knight f3. Okay, here. Yeah. So, no, actually, it wasn't the Asterbate. It was actually Tobias previously had showed us a game where his opponent played knight f3 and then continued to castle queenside. Some of you guys, you're welcome, pass pawn. Some of you guys might remember it was last week, or no, 2 weeks ago. Perhaps 2 weeks ago. When I was still in the United States, maybe like one of my last streams before I left the United States, where we covered a game by Asterbate where he played the same setup and the guy castled queenside, and it was a kind of nice attacking game for Yabatis, but I mean, there's this game here, white plays knight f3. I was saying to Yabatis that I think this is wrong, you know. Okay, it's not terrible, but generally speaking, you shouldn't block your f-pawn. You know, I think this is better to play something like knight h3. Maybe the Chichak. Actually, this move doesn't make sense now. Queen e2 doesn't make sense any longer, because knight c6 is probably pretty strong here. That would force you to play knight f3. Well, anyway, okay, knight f3 is not that bad, but I just wanted better for white. You know, something better. Could we go here? Then it gets really interesting, like d5. We can try to just smother the bishop on b3. For example, pawn takes pawn, threatening c4, winning a piece. But the engine claims an advantage here for white. Isn't that, like, messed up? Like, look at this position. a3, and Stockfish says c4 equal. I mean, that is just a bizarre position. So it looks ridiculously good for black. You're just smushing the bishop on b3. But at the same time, black doesn't have a lot of development, and black hasn't really, like, you know, done much constructively to better his position. And at the moment, this bishop is sort of blocked. So, you know, if we did this kind of thing, like, okay, it reminds me of the Grand Prix Sicilian, actually. White can castle, of course. Anyways, okay, so in the actual game, white played, what, f4? No, I left the line. a3. Probably a necessary evil in the event of d5, though maybe he should wait until you play d5. Here, 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 and I think this is okay. He's trying to induce black to play e5 and then reopen the diagonal for the b3 bishop. And when I saw this, I was just like, oh no. The same guy is going to castle queenside again, like we saw 2 weeks ago. I don't really know where the white queen belongs, to be honest. It might go to e2, it might go to d2. I guess d2. I mean, if black were to be fianchettoed on the king side, it would clearly make sense to play queen e2 and like try to play bishop h6. But here, because black hasn't played g6, it's not really clear, you know, that queen d2 is the move. I mean, I like just h3, maybe giving this bishop retreat squares back to h2. So knight c6. It's not a no-brainer to play knight c6, by the way. You know, I really think that it's if you treat it in like hedgehog style, it's more natural to put the knight on d7. But I guess there's more ways to skin a cat, you know, as they, you know, more than one way to skin a cat, as the proverb says. But basically, Ubatis tried to take away something from what we talked about 2 weeks ago with knight a5, which is something he didn't really consider in the previous game. So he went and he used what we talked about last time: queen d2, knight f6, h3, rook c8. This is his borrowed idea. He's preparing for this guy to castle queenside, but he doesn't. Okay, now it's like a normal position. I think that Ubatis should probably just castle here and await developments. Instead, he played actively with knight a5, but I'm not sure this is 100% justified. Objectively, as long as he's played a3, he's got that retreat square. It seems like you should just castle and wait and see what white's going to do. And white is not better. He should probably just sit back, bring his rooks to the center, and just wait to see. You know, both sides can play a waiting game here, essentially. But Ubatis didn't want to wait. He played knight a5. White played this, and the problem is, it turns out that b4 might actually be a real possibility for white. So I think that black was conscious of that, you know. Still, I would prefer to castle here. The more I look at this for the second time, I think that I don't really love knight a5. And if you look at this setup that white's playing, this, whatever you want to call it, Bodler defense, there are a couple of guys who play this for black against the English. And I've said this before. It's Ivan Sokolov and Sergei Movsesian, both guys who I know and I've met. Both 2700-ish players, and both really, really knowledgeable in the openings. These are two guys who play the setup with black against the English. One of the things that you see is this rook b1 and b4. It does come up sometimes. So b4, it seems like you're playing on white side of, or rather the English player's side of the board here. In this case, black, the Sicilian player's side of the board. But it is a move. I mean, if we can get black to give up away from the center here, to capture away from the center, he loses central control. And so in the game after c4, this guy actually misses this move, which turns out to be quite strong. And Ubatis thought maybe you could sack a pawn with the positional sacrifice b4. But I'm not convinced really 100%. You know, this is unclear. Most likely white is a little bit better. Okay, it's awkward with the bishop on a2. Let's say we take the pawn, we go back, we defend said pawn with knight a4. It's not really clear black has enough compensation for the sacrificed pawn, but it's interesting. Is it possible to play knight e4 instead of knight a5? Whoa. You mean knight d4? Scared me there, Clash Kid. Because I was like, knight e4, no, that's not possible. That's definitely not your intention. Knight d4. I hate the structure with a passion. Every single time that I get the structure, I normally feel like I'm just worse. I remember I had this one game with Simatowe or somebody in a Grand Prix attack. I hate these double pawns. Yes, we have some pressure along the c file. But yes, to answer your question, it's possible. We'll have to completely transform the pawn structure though. Castles. The pawn is protected by the defense e5. And then what do we do? The stupid pawn on d4 is always this mega liability. Maybe white should go back to h2. And the problem is if you play e5, it's just like it's open season for the f file and the diagonal again. You know, it just seems like this is what white wants, it seems like, in these closed Sicilian type positions. He's going to start getting play. He's going to start getting that classic play along the f file. So it's worthy of consideration, but I'm always skeptical about, you know, whether that's good or not. Hard to say. But I think that the real best move for black is just simply not doing either above, but, you know, just castling. What is the forward plan? I don't know. It's not an easy position to play for both sides, for sure. It's like a Mexican standoff. I don't really see an appetizing pawn break for black. But then again, white's pawn break is not playable. Like, his only normal pawn break with f4 is blocked by 2 pieces here. So, again, I think it's just a kind of Mexican standoff. So in the game, knight a5 here, and then Yabatas played c4. The guy misses b4. But okay, he doesn't have to play b4. He could just keep his position. There's nothing wrong with, like, rook e1. Rook e1, bring the other rook to the center, and it's equal. But the guy takes here. And this just is a disaster. He's just weakening e4. Now black is just clearly crushing. Knight takes c4. You probably have to take. We take with the rook. And then how do we maintain this pawn on e4? There are really, well, let's see, like 3 problems. Okay, the first problem is the e4 pawn is weak. The second problem is there's this nasty pressure down the c file, making the knight on c3 backward, the classic weak pawn on c2. And the third problem is the fact that we have the Jolly Joker on b7, a kind of pronounced theme in Yabatas' games. It seems like every game I analyze of his, he has this unopposed bishop on b7. That's worth 4 points of material or something, you know, the bishop on b7. So this is just a great game. White looks like it's hard to play, but probably has to do this. Yeah, and just try to trade the central pawn off. It looks like takes, let's say queen takes here, maybe bishop takes, knight takes e5. Oh, the bishop's hanging, so I have to take. Ugh, this is ugly. No, takes. Yeah, very unpleasant endgame here. Probably very bad for white with the broken pawns. Lots of weaknesses everywhere. It's about the best he could do. So, but I mean, you have to. You know, it's like your pawn is just dropping. Instead, he played b3. I think he just didn't see that black can take on e4 with tempo. Knight takes e4 here, and black's just got everything now. Pawn up. The pressure is irrelevant against d6 because we can just push it. And we were left with the Jolly Joker on b7, which is very, very strong. And the white blunders with knight g5, losing 2 pieces for the rook. He has an intermezzo here, knight takes e6, getting a pawn for that at least, but he blunders, misses that, and plays like this, and now it's just like 2 bishops for a rook and a pawn. I mean, that's like 7 points of material for 5. It's a huge advantage for black. If you go by the old school books that said, like I had the American Chess Player's Handbook by Staunton, it said 3.5 points for bishops. Queen c7, here f4. This is like now winning. Here, 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 and whoops. Here, here. He gives a pawn back, which was kind of cool sacrifice. And now you can't play rook b6 because of rook b8. So here, and it's just a technical win. This is nice. 2 bishops is too much for a rook. Period. End of game. He ties him down to the weakness on c2. Very nice technique. And the rest is history. Now just improve the king. White has no passed pawn, despite the fact that, you know, actually black is a pawn up here as well. So it's over. We're gonna actually use our extra pawn to advantage to play e5. This is a disaster. He's almost getting mated. Resigns. No stalemate. Chesspatzer Wales, thank you. Terry, you're welcome. Alright, so Clash Kid and Nils are up next. We got game analysis for these guys. Clash Kid, thank you for your support of the stream, being a subscriber for 14 months straight. You're one of our best supporters. But all you guys, I thank you very much. So Clash Kid, I got Ubatis covering that game here. Took me a while to figure this out. So this is it. Thanks for your help, Tobias. Grabbing the game was a little easier for me. Alright, so Clash Kid is playing the white pieces. He likes Antonio. I'm not taking challenges unless we run out of games to analyze today. Welcome to the stream, by the way. If we run out of games, then I'll play a couple of blitz games, but only in that case as a last resort. Alright, we started at 6:30. We've been streaming for an hour and 10 minutes. So Clash Kid is white. He's always playing e4. c5, knight f3. I've been fairly impressed by his play on the white side of the Sicilian. He's beaten me in some nice games. Kind of sharp style. Not totally nuts, you know, a sound, aggressive style. He likes complications, I feel like, but not to the point of like extreme, like s4. Some of the other players, like Soltigo and s4, have gone out of the way to play chaotically on purpose. I feel like Clash Kid is a little more correct in his treatment. He likes complications, but he doesn't go nuts to try to create them. So d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, the Najdorf. Yeah, it's hard to find a good line against the Najdorf without having to learn like 30 moves of theory. So, you know, everything's been tried. Rook g1, h3, knight b3, a4, bishop e2, bishop e3, f4, f3, knight e2, g3, bishop g5, obviously. We pretty much run down the list. I didn't say bishop c4 and bishop d3. So I guess that's one of the things about the Najdorf that makes it so hard. I mean, it literally is like not that forcing of a move. And so it gives white a large amount of possibilities. But Clash Kid played a4. Kamsky played this in a nice game against Topalov like 2 years ago. Well, actually, that was an older game. I'm losing my mind. But anyway, Gata has played this. He had a nice game against a different player. It wasn't the game with Topalov was 2 years ago. It was a game from like the Aeroflot tournament or somewhere where he used analysis he had in a previous old game against Topalov. It was like a4, knight c6, a5. There's the 2011 game against Topalov, and there's the the 2016 game against Salem Salah. So he took out Salem with this tricky line that he had prepared for Topalov like long before. That's an interesting variation, but the bottom line is that most people don't play knight c6 against a4. If we look here at the statistics, the majority of players play e5. Okay, when you play a4, you're basically not going to castle queenside. So you're not going to get those race positions where both sides are castling on opposite sides. a4 is more of a controlled sort of move. After e5, white has the option to go for either knight b3 or knight f3. I don't know why knight b3 is so unpopular. I mean, it doesn't seem like a bad move. I would think it would transpose to bishop e2, Karpov type of variations. Even this is apparently a move. So, yeah, your opponent did play e5, in fact, and you did play knight b3, in fact. I didn't see that. That's funny. So you actually chose this variation, even though most of the top guys play knight f3. Move 11's not here today. You said your opponent is 2200. Okay. Move 11's not here today, but he's also been playing a variation with knight f3 base setups. Of course, that's different if you play, like, let's say bishop e3 and black plays e5 and you play knight f3. It's much different. You've played a4 here. Restricting the ability for black to play b5 is a little different. So I think this is clearly, you know, considered to be a very safe variation for white. Let's see. Yeah, tons of games. Carlsen, it suits his style. Also Kamsky. It also suits Gada's style. And these are both players. Look at the common denominators between Carlsen and Kamsky. Massive technique, very experienced, and guys who like to grind long games or just happy with like small advantages. So it's like a safe variation for white. But here, Clash could play knight b3, and not too many games, as I said, but I think you're more than likely to see a transposition once you play bishop e2. So bishop e6, this is a bit more aggressive than playing bishop e7. And now bishop g5, and that's certainly a very aggressive move. Almost no games at all at this point. Notably, like Nick DeFermian, someone who I know pretty well, who's also pretty good white side of the Sicilian player, had chosen to play this in one game. And now I think we're going to hit a transposition, but not. That's kind of odd. It's a little weird this doesn't transpose to like a Karpov setup type of variation. So he's supposed to play knight on bd7, but he castles first. I mean, the engine likes knight on bd7 better. It would, you know, allow knight takes f6 on f6. So here a couple of people played bishop takes f6. This is obviously like a concession and not a very sharp move. They both lost, ironically. Frolyanov and some other guy. Okay, you can't really expect to get an advantage with a quiet system like this, but you're hoping that you're not worse. Castle's kingside, I don't know what else to suggest. Is knight takes e4 a threat? Does this ever work? I mean, what are there, 2 games here? 4 games in this position. And now we got a few games, but transpositions, again, is this possible? Knight takes, bishop takes e7, knight takes c3. Bishop takes d8, knight takes d1 on the b2 pawn. Bishop e7, rook e8. Rook takes d1, rook takes e7, rook takes d6, or virtual equality. So, I don't know, Clash Kid, if you looked at this, but this is obviously like a very important theme. Now, if the guy's really 2200 and he's a favorite, he's probably not going to go for that. Unless he's like an old player and he's afraid because you're a younger player and you might be underrated or something. Most stronger players or higher rated players aren't going to like simplify. But objectively, you know, maybe knight takes c4 is even black's best move, like theoretically here. Nobody played it. Knight bd7. This is the standard way to play. And now what does white do? I would imagine a5, just clamping down. I agree. Is knight takes c4 still a threat? So at this point you probably didn't know what to do. I would consider maybe... I was going to say queen d3, but I think you're running into rook c8 there. So I'm having some trouble coming up with something. There's the very strange bishop f3. While it looks absurd, I have seen this played in like the Boleslavsky system. You win a pawn back if knight takes e5. Yeah, you're going to get your pawn back. You're never going to lose anything there. What about like king h1, just making a waiting move? You see, the thing about the Najdorf, it makes it so easy to play. There's always the same themes, you know, second exchange here, taking on e4. Now you have to play like bishop f3. It's very similar to a... What is this, Boleslavsky? It's hard for both sides to make progress in this type of position. Who's better at the end? That looked like equal. The long exchanging variation was equal. It's hard to play for both sides. I think that black is probably true that black's a tiny bit better. Alright, so you played queen d2. Essentially defending against the threat of knight takes e4. Okay, this is not a bad move. Plays the natural, rook c8, so we see the exchange sack here. And now suddenly there's a couple of games. Claude Landenberg was playing... Actually, he's one of your... No, you're from Austria. Landenberg is from Switzerland. I thought it was close, but no cigar. Alright. You're actually playing white and he's playing black too. Can't find anything in common. Rook fd1. So you played f3. Yeah, I mean f3 is very natural because you're seeing that exchange sacrifice. There's the ugly bishop f3, which was played unsuccessfully. As strange as this move might look, it's actually not bad. You know, you just take out this e4 sacrifice, but it's really like a defensive position. And the other problem is the knight b6 coming in here to c4. That is kind of awkward. So I don't like it. f3 is very weakening. Can you play queen e3? Cuts off your bishop. Yeah, I'm basically running out of ideas. I'm really concerned about rook takes c3. I guess if he plays rook takes c3, you can always play bishop takes f6. So maybe it's not a threat to do this, in other words. I mean, that's the million-dollar question. If you play a5 and he sacks the exchange, can you just do like bishop takes f6? This is what I was wondering. And then rook c7, double exclam. Triple exclam. You got to be a real Najdorf expert to understand this, what's going on here. But I think at the end of the day, there's the possibility of like bad bishop versus good knight. So a5 is not very constructive. You know, you might find that this move is more constructive. Now, does this exchange sack work? Landenberg didn't sack the exchange here. I mean, it clearly looks like it's possible. It's very, very tempting to do this. You know, if you're like the higher rated player, you're playing for a win, you're taking out a little risk. But he didn't want to commit. He's probably an old dude by now. B takes C, knight takes E4, bishop takes E7. I guess this is the key line. And then we just take. No, this doesn't work. Bishop takes E7. We have to take back. And then we just sacked an exchange. Positionally, like Petrosian. I think this is all you can do. This is the best you got. To allow this Petrosian-like exchange sacrifice and say, okay, am I really worse, though? It looks like it's not. Yeah. Yeah, this is an instructive position. You know, so the rook FD1, it's like a developing move, it's a constructive move, it doesn't weaken your structure, and it allows the exchange sacrifice, but on better terms. Where you don't weaken yourself with A5, you don't weaken yourself with F3. Yeah, the problem with F3 looks like, you know, your bishop's on G5, and that's your good bishop, and you're basically flirting with these tactics, as Asterbate knows in the Czech Benoni. Bombas is challenging the 7+3. That's an old game from 1995. Tatiana made a draw. But, alright. So we know what you should do. You played F3. Man, this is brutal. So, even the engine wants to do the exchange sack right away anyway. But it looks like he has a plethora of good moves. Well, I mean, honestly, pass pawn, I mean, it's normal to play F3, like in the Sicilian, but more commonly when you're castled queenside. To be honest, actually, in these type of setups, you know, you're more normally like maybe playing F4, not moving the F pawn at all. But F3 is not an unheard of move in the kind of classical type of Najdorfs. So the guy has rook takes C3 or D5. Man, the D5, it's kind of scary, man. And he misses them both. Wow, what a miracle. I mean, he ends up playing bishop takes B3, which is like an horrendous strategic mistake. Right? What level of mistake is this strategically? Like to trade your good bishop for a knight on B3. That's like, yeah, question mark. If you get in D5, that's the whole point of the Najdorf. But it's easy to miss this tactically. So E takes D5, knight takes D5. Just a trick. The shocking thing is how much worse white really is. You know, it seems like, okay, it just simplifies. Maybe it's not that bad. Strongest move of all seems to be this. And then you see how the dark square weaknesses really pile up. And then there's this threat of bishop takes B3 as well. White probably has to play like A5, queen C7, and you're just getting pressurized on the open file. It's hard to imagine that it's a pawn up, but it really is a pretty unpleasant situation for white. So this wasn't a great game to analyze. Bishop takes B3, A takes B. He lets you off the hook. He does the check, winning the pawn. This is... Who was I talking about this today? With Yabatis, I guess. It seems like people are inherently materialistic, and this is a big problem. Yeah, this was the best possible result for you under the circumstances. He goes materialistic, and now you're like, it's like you played the Mora Gambit or something, man. I mean, this is a total Mora Gambit position. You got that backward pawn on D6. He's given up his white squared bishop. You have the two bishops. You have pressure on D5, pressure on the backward pawn. You know, you have compensation basically. If you showed me this position, I don't know what I would guess. Maybe Mora. So queen takes B3, rook FD1. You know what to do now. here. The only problem with white's position is that his bishop's kind of bad, but it's still a good defender. It's controlling the c4 square, the b5 square. You could make the white square bishop into a good piece. Yeah. I was thinking about rook a3 though, you know. The problem is queen b4, and where do you go? Can we play can we play like maybe rook a3 and a5 and then try to kick the queen back and forth with rook a4? I would have been a little scared, you know, facing a higher rated player and being a pawn down, but inherently you see there's some compensation. Okay, and so now you just bailed. Computer doesn't like it. It likes bishop c4. That's a beautiful move. Basically, that's an insanely good move, which I wouldn't have found if I wasn't very alert and using the engine to help me. But I like to think that I might have found it if I was fresh and I could just see on my own, you know. In a long game, I probably would have seen this for sure. Was a possibility at least. You can, okay, queen b4, and then at least your bishop is now gone from bad piece status to good piece status. It's a massive improvement. Really nice idea. Okay, he just goes for the simple continuation. Knight d5 here. The dude takes another pawn. Another Mado. Man, I don't know about this. All right, let's assume you don't see bishop c4, okay? I think the mistake is really rook c1, you know? This is like a reactionary move. Your rook is in the game, man. You know, it's in the game already. It's developed from its original square. But you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do rook a3. Again, it may be just a matter of, you know, rook a3 is the threat is stronger than the execution. The possibility of rook a3 being a move here. My concern is rook a3, but then queen b4, you see, the thing is you block that bishop. See, that's the problem with queen b4. You block that threat, you're saying, with d5. So apparently here we have real compensation. Now a5. And now we perpetual him with rook a4, rook a3, rook a4, rook a3. We force him to make, you know, to give up ground. This was the best, definitely. Definitely. I don't like, what's this lag? You guys have lag? Because I have a really good connection. I mean, my ping is 66. Which is very unusual with the OBS running, actually. Almost never have this good of a connection with my OBS running. Yeah, but the thing is, Clash Kid, you say that rook a3 gets hit, but it doesn't get hit unless he goes to b6, and the whole point is to play a5. So he has two choices when you play rook a3. He can put his queen on b4, and then you can play a5 without worrying about bishop a3. Or he goes to the b6, you get in the a5, which you want to get in anyway, kind of giving you space. But this move was a very serious mistake. What? Yeah. It's just, like, you know, compromising, and it weakens your a pawn. So I think you're very lucky not to lose this game if you didn't lose this game. Because now you're basically, like, more than a pawn down. And I don't like knight takes f6 check. I mean, I don't know what we're supposed to do, but theoretically, that's a bad bishop. You have a strong knight on d5. I don't know. Okay, you went for it. This was like the only chance, it looks like. Why is queen e6 dubious? But I mean, what else is he supposed to do, you know? The engine thinks rook takes c1, rook takes c1, queen takes b2. Okay. Now bishop c4. And you got threats of bishop takes f7 check here. I mean, this is very serious. So this looks He probably saw this and freaked out, you know. I might, you know, just totally freak out. He could play knight c3 as well. Okay, he plays this. It's dubious, whatever. It's a very logical move. And now you don't know what to do. Envision something. Can we just trade rooks and then find something? F4. Is there anything at all active that we can do? Because I'm having flashbacks to a game I lost with Nicola Sedlak last year. The same thing, like weird kingside, pawn down, knight versus bishop. A lot of themes that were the same. I mean, I want to play f4 somehow, but it just doesn't do anything. This doesn't do anything either. Alright, let's say we trade a set of rooks. Play f4. Some kind of ideas of h3. Rook f1. I mean, I guess objectively white is losing, and there's not much you can do about it. E takes f4. Rook g1 and g4 is never going to work. It's just too slow. I mean, I guess it's just too tough. You know, it's just too tough. There's not enough counterplay. I don't see anything here. This was a logical try, but he has this. And that's all he can do. So you're just stuck in a technical position now, where obviously if he didn't have an A pawn, you know. But you're 2 pawns down. It's not enough to compensate for his broken king side. Obviously he can make mistakes. His king is a little broken. If a rook gets up and over, he's in trouble. B3, it definitely had sense. Yeah, I agree. It was. I don't think it was worse than anything else, Antonio. Finally, what we looked at, I didn't see anything better. I mean, in a sense, this is not completely hopeless. You know, he's got some chance to get his rook up. Practical, but we need to defend against the back rank threat. Merle Dixon, thank you for the donation. Merle Dixon leading the way this week with 248 bits donated, guys. I got to get the Streamlabs donation notification on this week, or by next week anyway. It's almost next week already. It's Thursday. Tomorrow, guys, I just want to remind everyone, I've got a stream on Friday morning, 10 a.m. with open challenges, 5+3, fast blitz, for me at least, fast. Rook b1, queen takes c4, threatening mate, and there it is. Do we want to go to h4 or h3 here, by the way? I mean, did you put any real thought into it? Is there any way that h4 would be an advantage? You know, I'm just thinking, listen, I mean, maybe there's some line where, like, the pawn gets down there and you can use it to actually create mating threats. So if you're in time pressure, it's normal to play, like, h3 here. But I think that I would spend a bit of time to really calculate the possibility of h4, h5, h6 as an added weapon in your arsenal. So I guess I would go with that. You know, it's a little more dynamic than playing h3. You're already dead on the queen side, so either you swindle him or you don't, you know. No risk, nothing to lose, basically. A good practical position, though, because, you know, here we have a lost position where there's still some technical chances. Move 11, what's up? How's it going? So h3, and now we're threatening serious checks. So he goes back. We give a check. Any other options? We're just 2 pawns down, man. This isn't enough. Got another. Ooh, he didn't do it. So, very strange decision to play king f8 here, I think. I mean, you got queen g6. The issue is really not king safety, but time. When you play queen g6, it's buying a move. Like, white's going to have to play queen e7 or queen h4, avoiding the exchange of queens or queen d2 or whatever. Queen d2, I guess. So this is like a a bad move, and then it gives white like a free pass, you know, to do something else, like that. An annoying move, basically. And now he plays rook a8. And suddenly the two pieces, you know, start to kind of work here. Apparently you have a better move, queen d2. It's hard to believe. I mean, 2 pawns down that black should have serious chances to hold this. Move 11, it's good to see you, man. How's it been going this week? So you're just lost from here on out? Well, the advantage seems to slip pretty big there for a moment. Like, look at the difference. I mean, it's 2.9. And when he plays rook a8, it drops to 1.6, which is like drawing territory. And it's saying that either queen e3 or queen d2 like might have been putting up some serious resistance. I mean, queen c1 looked to me like reasonable. So this, with this variation, he stays tied down. And with your move, he actually reactivates, kind of corrects his mistake, basically. He corrected his mistake, essentially. Now you're really just not with enough counterplay. I mean, not that you ever had enough, but it was like a better chance to play queen d2. And now it's lost. It was a good fight, you know. Definitely a good fight, but the pawns are too strong. Alright, man, thank you for sharing the game. Guys, we have over an hour left in the stream. I've been streaming for an hour, and something's wrong with my count, actually. We're still rolling, right? It had to update itself. We've been streaming for an hour and 36 minutes. We have almost an hour left. Does that seem right? I've been streaming for an hour and 36 minutes? Is that possible? I started at 6:30, a little later. Whatever. I'm getting loopy. All right, thank you for sharing the game, Clash Kid. Thanks for subscribing again. So we've got Nils. Any game for this week, Move 11? Ronald Dixon says, I don't have any nice games, but I caught my eye when you checked it live on the stream on Tuesday. Oh, that game I lost. Oh my god. No. What is this? What was this? What? Oh, this one caught my eye when I checked it live. I don't remember that. Anyway, okay, Merle will be after Nils, I guess. I don't know why I'm coughing. Very strange. I'm not ill. Yubatis just got better from a little illness, so hope he's feeling better. Alright, Nils. Okay, this is, sorry for all the annotations, but I'm too lazy to delete it. Classical time control, my opponent is 1500 FIDE. Yeah, these 1500 FIDEs, man, they're pretty good lately. Alright, so here, I need a glass of water, guys. The drink has a very strange taste. I think I poured water into Fanta. It's like a watered down Fanta. It's kind of gross. Alright. D4, knight f6, c4, g6. The chess panda. Chess panda has a question.
How do you feel about h4?
That was just a question. The h4 attack. Panda variation. You should be prepared. It looks like some people have gone with this. But it's, now wait a minute, it's not more trendy to play, I'm going off on a tangent, I know guys, but it's more trendy to play this, right? Yeah, Panda meant this variation. What do we got here? Yeah. This is it, right, Panda?
Sorry, I meant to say knight f3 first and then h4. Very interesting stuff. Totally crazy.
You gotta get that in every time, man. Why do you have to be obsessed with this? Alright. I'm getting challenges here. 1.2 plus 8. Dude, say what? Alright. Yeah, this line was kind of tropical for a while. The beer ran out. My beer ran out already. Having a tough night. I went through a lot of drinks. It's extremely hot in here. I'm like on the roof and it's humid and it's been crazy weather. Alright, but anyway, this has nothing to do with Nils' suggestion. He just submitted a Grunfeld and I thought I'd bring it up. And Panda wanted to ask about h4. For some reason, the h4 is more sound after knight f3 first. Anyway, we have the main line, c takes d5, knight takes d5, e4, knight takes c3, b takes c3, bishop g7. You know, I mean, I've never really seriously played the Grunfeld. It was like my first defense. One of my first defenses to d4. I played it in my early career. It had some success with it, but for some reason I gave it up. I don't really know why I gave up playing the Grunfeld. I just got interested in playing the King's Indian instead. I had totally decent results with the Grunfeld all the way till I was like 2000 strength basically. But I guess I just got bored with it or just felt like the King's Indian was really cool. But my biggest question here is like, you know, why is bishop g7 so much more popular than c5? I guess there's something wrong with c5 somehow. I don't know. Whatever. Alright, bishop g7. Stupid question, I guess. White played knight f3. Well, you gotta make a decision here. Rook b1. You know... That's weird. That rook b1 is so rare. I'm sorry for just like meditating, guys, but I'm in a thoughtful mood. I haven't looked at this position in a while. I mean, this is a move. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th most popular move. But why? You know, why is it different? I mean, knight f3 castles or knight f3 c5 rook b1 is like a very standard line. But why would playing it right away be bad? That's something to think about. I mean, maybe this move is actually due for a revival. I mean, look, there's like no games. Sacha Kiran played one game in 2003. I mean, most likely it's going to transpose, right? I mean, after c5, we're just going to transpose. So I guess it doesn't have a lot of independent value. White would need to think of a different move in this position. There just aren't too many options. So we answered our own question. I guess the move just doesn't have a lot of independent value. Yeah, I mean, I think that theoretically, like bishop e3, that seems like a very cool variation. The Kasparov-Karpov match is from the 90s. Well, the last Kasparov-Karpov match from 1990. I think it was 1990 or 1991. I can't remember anymore. But 90, right? This line seems critical, among other things. Knight f3 is fine. c5. And now white played bishop b5 check. This is not a move I know anything about. It feels completely wrong to play bishop b5 check. HTFP said rook b1 allows d5 after knight c6. I mean, this is a main line. You know, knight c6 is an extremely bad move. d5, bishop takes c3 check. I've had a number of people do this. It's like one guy did this and then tried to survive this ending. C takes d4. It looks like bishop b5 check is possible here. Now this is just bad for black. But even the proper version of that is bad. You don't want to be doing any of that. You know, trying to grab the pawn on c3. Stoll tried to... I think Stoll had a game with like Korchnoi years ago in the main line. With that. It's very dangerous for black. Rook b1. But this move to me doesn't make sense. Like why why do you want to trade pieces when you have more space? You know, this just doesn't add up. So, I mean, all of the above. It's like the Rosalimo. Look at this. Like, every single move is okay for black here. All three. How aggressive do you want to play? Like, knight d7 is the most aggressive. Bishop d7 is the safest. And knight c6 is also kind of dynamic. So you played the kind of dynamic continuation. Alright, knight to c6. Bishop takes c6. And this is the lazy man's lobster. In New England, in the United States, we have this recipe for like serving lobster for people who are too lazy to have to like get it out of the shell, you know. And this is the kind of move that's like that. It's just this is for Soltigo because he lives in Maine. They have a lot of lobsters. I don't know, you know. It just seems if you had a better move here, I would play it. This just unprovoked exchange on c6. Look at this, like the vast majority of players castled. But okay, what are we going to do after c takes d4? There is one game I remember now. Well, hold on a second here. Yeah, this makes sense. C takes d4, c takes d4, castles, bishop e3. Keeping the tension. Kramnik versus Kasparov. Okay, so knight c6. You spent about 20 minutes on this move. You're calculating a lot of different lines. Okay, that's the first thing. I don't know at what rating level, you know, this should stop, but probably it's too much time to spend on one move in the first 10 moves. You know, I've been known to do that myself, and I get criticized by my teammates for things like that. So, generally speaking, I don't think you should spend more than like 5 minutes on a move in the first 10 moves, unless it's some crazy, totally off the wall thing, you know. We need to be more practical now due to the fastening of time controls. So he just takes unprovoked, castles, c takes d4, c takes d4, castles. Now here's an interesting moment. You gotta think, man, this is like Ancient Aliens again, right? You gotta make, what is you gotta ask yourself, you know, do you want to live with a backward pawn? I mean, that's really the question here. You just gotta ask yourself the question, do you want to live with a backward pawn? Castling seems kind of fine, but also a little routine. There's a check on a4, but he's given up his white squared bishop. That's nothing. You can play bishop d7. So given the opportunity, you should play c5. It looks like right away. The real problem here is that it just may be too equal for anybody to win. You know, maybe it's just too drawish. You're not going to be able to take out this guy who's like 1500 if he's really competent for his rating. But I mean, what else can you do, really? Castles, and now h3. Not a bad move. But you can see here, most people are playing bishop a3 to strafe the diagonal and stop c5. And every single game, except for one, apparently was a draw. That's ridiculous, guys. Check the stats. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22 games, and 21 of them were draws, and black won 1. So in 22 games, white didn't win a single game from this position at the master level. Dude, that is sick. Not even like hanging a piece or something. The position is so simplified that literally not one master out of 22 could actually manage to score with white. That is insane. So, yet Stockfish says queen c2 with 0.1 advantage. Anyways, alright, so h3, understandable move. Correct. Now he's already thinking about sacking the exchange. At least I'm thinking about sacking the exchange. This might be a possibility that white could take on c5. Just keep that in mind. So be careful if you want to be fancy here with something like queen a5. Keep in mind that a psycho player might even sack the exchange on a1. The first thought of the computer was to play d takes c5. You're running a risk with this, though it would be imbalanced. Like queen takes a1. Now f6 or something. What are we gonna do? Ooh, this is kind of sharp. I mean, you know. So when you play queen a5, you're actually creating maybe possibilities for him to go wrong, but also taking risks at the same time. It takes a strong player. People are, as I said, greedy, and okay, there's some people who like to sacrifice, but most are materialistic. But you might find the odd players willing to make this sort of sacrifice. Apparently you have rook d8 here, which is a bit more dynamic. Actually, that gains a tempo. That move may change. The move may change the evaluation, though. You know, this move might make all the difference, because now you save a tempo. Like later on bishop h6, you're not going to get hit with tempo. I mean, if you play CD, like, the only danger is that it's a draw. You have no chances of losing in this position. Black is a tiny bit better theoretically, because you have a bishop versus a knight. That should be the default move. Queen a5 is like risky. Then he plays queen c1, which looks a bit strange. You said you were afraid of the exchange sack. Under which circumstances, though? I mean, we flat out sack an exchange. It's not a new idea in the exchange Grunfeld. You could just flat out sack an exchange. Wow, this is actually pretty shaky. You literally have to play f6, which is standard for these type of positions. And then he's putting this massive pressure on your c5 pawn. And it's not even a question if white has enough compensation. The engine says that white is better here. That's, you know, that makes you think twice about not playing c5 and queen a5. But this is just the naked truth. So queen c1 was really strange. And now you're pushing the envelope probably way too hard. Like this dude, you're basically practically forcing him to sack the exchange, it looks like. I never considered giving up the Grunfeld bishop on g7 for the white rook on a1. Well, actually, past pawn 99, there's some main variations where that's exactly what happens. Like theory says that there's some lines where that's absolutely, like, practically forced in the exchange variation. Some of the critical positions. I mean, I'm not sure if there's a way to avoid it altogether. If it is, it's possible. But so he doesn't sack the exchange, and then this is like going for e2. The best move is rook d2, stopping that here. Yeah, wow. So this move is really crazy. Basically, you're giving up a pawn. But if queen takes c5, bishop e2, and you're crushing his face. This is a different way to win the exchange. But this is going to be a lot better. I mean, we're going to take this, and we're going to take this, and we're going to take this, and we're going to say, okay, now we're up the exchange, but in a much more simplified scenario, where I think it's just winning. So queen c7. But it's like pinning yourself, so that makes it kind of a strange move. But the dominating factor in this game was, you know, questions of materialism. Again, the dude doesn't sack the exchange. I mean, it's definitely considerable here. I guess your bishop e2, though, is kind of a problem. You're basically on the right track. He missed rook b1, though. Again, you know. Just taking this, what do we do now? He has to calculate a bit. You know, has to find rook e1, because he can't take on c5 right away. He has to find this. That's a lot to see, you know, queen d5, and then take on c5. And he's probably surviving. Probably surviving. Overall, a good game, though. Queen e3 here. And now there's the crushing fork with the e5. So queen e3 is like just a question mark. Queen takes c5, bishop e2. What's the deal here? Rook d2. And so this is a combinational line. Queen takes e4, rook e1, and you lose or something? Actually, it's not at all losing. This looks okay. Queen takes e4. Or bishop e2. So you played fine, but you know he could have sacked the exchange, probably profitably. And now he's just lost. It's just lost. Period. Okay, he's trading off your bishop pair, but he's down a crushing passer. I would be careful about how I advance this pawn, though. You know, do you want to advance it or not? Because you can play f6 and e5 and just have a protected passed pawn. And your king is going to be a little open. So if we take here, and then he takes here, and I mean, my first idea is to play f6 and try to play e5. This is like the safer approach. I mean, it's going to require that we open up our king a little bit with e5, I guess, but this is sort of like money in the bank, you know? It looks like we should just hack it off, actually. Bishop takes, and just play this with the passer, the protected passer on d4. This is probably the lowest risk way of going for this game. Okay, so instead you play d3, bishop takes, and now your pawns are segmented, sort of broken apart. You have no way to create that, no way to create like the protected pass pawn, but objectively it's still good. A little hard though, you know, when the pawn is kind of blocked. It's blocking your rook and your bishop. He has this sort of solid blockade on d2, so it can be kind of hard, this guy's hard to make progress for a time here. You might have to do a lot of work. Rook d2, rook c2. There, here. It's a strong pawn though. I mean, admittedly, the pawn's pretty crushing. You never consider giving up the Grimfell bishop, yeah. In this particular situation, oh, okay. Thanks for clarifying that, pass pawn. But you do like pass pawns, right? Oh, e5. Oh, he's lost. And he just freaked out. Alright. End of game. Thank you for submitting. Hope it was interesting. Well played. So, what do we got now? Merle submitted this game. I've got another red horse. What? Invited me to what? People send me these random links. So this is a game he saw in our Tuesday tournament. We'll have another tournament this week, probably a blitz tournament, 5+2 on Tuesday in the evening. So this is just a game that Merle randomly ran into. Actually, Scoble, is Scoble here? He's a friend of yours, right, Nils? Yeah, people were a little suspicious of Notch Papa because he had, you know, this 1500 rating and finished near the top. But I don't think he played any of the highest rated players in the tournament. Let's see. I haven't seen any games where he played. This was a typical human game, 31 cent upon loss. That's actually not bad, but lots of mistakes by both sides. Alright, so which perspective should I see here? Let's look from white because he's, you know, our subscriber. So e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, and this is Scoble who played against Makaro Khan, the Black Mardemer. And I'm expecting a gambit type of line. I was commenting how dangerous the white player was. Yeah, I mean, he seems aggressive, and he played the Black Mardemer type of thing against the Karo Khan. If you guys don't remember, he's a new subscriber to the stream. I try not to submit games where I don't hang my queen. Yeah, that's a good idea. Against me, it was this. Was this right? Knight c3, d takes e, f3. I guess knight f6 is a decent way of declining this, but not very exciting. So e takes f3, and that was our game against Skobel, which I didn't really know the theory too well. It was really strange. I think knight takes f3, knight f6. What did I play? Bishop c4, and here I was supposed to play bishop f5, and I played a really weird move like b5, which was only played in one game. Yeah, I mentioned this game. White is better after b5. Okay, that's another story, but another game that's in the style, another line that's in the style that maybe this player likes. He's not here, but let's see what he does against the French. I mean, if you played the Black Mardimer against the Caro-Kann, I imagine he has something kind of similar, like this side of psycho-aggressive type of line. So against the Winnower, we've got Queen G4. And, I mean, this is an old variation that actually goes back to, I think, like, Alekhine had a game, if I'm not mistaken. I guess Alekhine would occasionally play the French with black. Alekhine. Nefedov hasn't been here for days. I hope he's alright. So, he's been busy working or something. We miss you, Pavel. Alright, so this is all normal, but Notch Papa didn't know the theory. So he played in the spirit of the normal winnower with knight e7. So you have to play knight f6. I mean, king f8 is a concession. Here, 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 here. And actually, if you have, you know, at least what used to be the best book on the French years ago, John Watson played the French. It's had several editions. He's kept it updated. Watson talks about, he recommends the winnower for black. He definitely talks about this variation, you know, and he feels like there's no problem. It's interesting here because look at this, you know. D takes e4, and now knight e2 is apparently better for white, according to both statistic and the engine. Very noticeable. And this is a guy who's tricky there, Nabadi. He lost with white, but he plays very tricky opening systems. I would keep an eye on that. You know, this variation might be quite good for white, but it looks like, according to the engine, c5 and rook g6 are okay. This is like a main line, and only a few games. Baron lost to Planinic in 1975. Hardly any games, and the computer's calling this equal. So there's like lots of room for improvements here, I guess. This is kind of maybe a mistake, you know, for this to be the main line. White still has an advantage. But black just played knight e7. I mean, okay, this is strange. So you don't have any pressure against e4. The knight is badly placed, and you take the pawn, rook g8. And is there another move? Okay, so apparently you can go here, which is really weird looking. That just doesn't look great. I'm always criticizing knights on knight 3. Yeah, Nefedov's in England. So knight to knight 3, always bad. Like, it's just always bad. So he played rook g8, sacrificing like a second pawn. And you could consider playing queen h6 if you're like an anti-materialist. But I guess this is totally justified here. It's not a winnower, you know. Black played c5, which was obviously a very aggressive move. In the spirit of the winnower, it's like you're trying to force the same themes, as if it was a normal line. Still, it's kind of scary for white. Plays a3. And now I could have played queen a5. Once in a while you run across one of these like exchange sacrifices where you could actually do like AB, you know, and sacrifice your rook here. This looks like it might be one of those cases. You just go totally Spassky style. King D1. Spassky versus Tal. Spassky loved to play with his king on D1. I don't know. Everything's possible, guys. Probably very playable. So instead, mistake, bishop a5. He's supposed to exchange pieces here, apparently. Bishop a5. So white takes on d5. But if I'm white here, I'm thinking, you know, I want to get developed. I don't know what I would do. I mean, I'm seriously thinking about taking on c5. Because I just want to resolve the situation. I mean, if he plays d4, we have b4. That's okay, you know. Totally cool. If bishop takes c3, okay, it's a good winnower for white. You know, fine. So I don't know. That's what I would play. That's just me. D takes c5. Apparently knight f3 is playable. So he takes on d5. Black plays bishop takes c3 unprovoked. Yeah, that's good for white. I mean, why resolve the tension? BC. Develop. White's just totally winning. Knight c6. The only problem is how to develop the king side. You can't play bishop d3. Maybe you could sacrifice the g2 pawn. It's something to think about. Queen d3 back, coordinating. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, that looks logical. Get back. Unleash the beast. What do you think, Panda? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it looks good. I like this. H5, H6, H7, H8.
It's a little late to be moving your H pawn, but I guess we'll live with that. That pass pawn has decided a lot of games in the in the French winnower. I'm sure Black has burned his bridges behind him here. This is just a game that Merrill Dixon sort of chose for us to look at. Then Black plays Queen F5, and it's game over. This should be game over. I mean, you're trading queens here down a pawn or two. I mean, that's insane. So there's a lot of pressure at d4. This is the last thing white really has to do is think about what he wants to do here. d5 looks pretty good. Knight d4, last chance for counterplay. Bishop d3. So these pawns are quite strong. My first inclination is just take the first one, and then we'll see what to do with the other one. So it's actually, he has to be a little bit careful. Rook a2, or even move the king, I would imagine. We could go here. Is there a combination for black, like ed, cd, bishop g4, check, f3, knight takes f3? Still, at the end of the day, it's 5 pawns against 4. So we can play h3. I love this variation. Bishop h5 and g4. But apparently this is even stronger now. Once we've drawn him away, we can play a check, king e7, then g4. Now rook d8. This is great. Great stuff. Still black is staying alive. c4, a6, bishop a4, b5. Craziness. So it's surprising how much counterplay really black does have at this stage. Scoble like got careless. I mean, he just sacrificed his g2 pawn, but that's a huge concession. You know, he could have just played like rook takes g2 now at some point, getting some counterplay. So bishop d3, knight takes f3 check. Okay, again there's still counterplay. The white king isn't settled. Our last hope is the h pawn. That's going to leave us. One pawn is a big deal though. That's all we need to win a game. Good choice of developing move. Check. And now the problem is the king. I think we have to play like king d1, king c1, and walk over here. Real fast. because our king is going to be safe on the dark squares. The problem is he played king f1, which is like just an absurd blunder. So this is a deep move. You got to see king e2, bishop g4, and realize that you actually have to play king d1, king c1, and walk the king over to b2, where he's ultimately safe. And then white can try his hand at winning this pawn up endgame. But this is just an outright blunder. Bishop h3 check, king e2, and then I don't know, bishop g4 at the very least here for black is giving us good counterplay. There's no good place to hide now. We're gonna have to allow a really scary discovery. So Scoble got careless. I don't know how the time was. They both had a lot of time, actually. They both had quite a bit of time, so it was really no excuse. Bad time management by both sides, you know. And now this is weird. I mean, I'm taking that without even hesitation. The knight is extremely strong in the center of the board. White is up a pawn. I don't know. Maybe he thought he didn't like bringing the pawn to d4, so he can't play c4 easily or something. But I would just trade. Yeah, and I think now it's just, what's up with the clocks? I think these clocks might be wrong. I mean, this is weird. He just lost his pawn now. So Notch Papa, after playing the opening horribly, he seems to be keeping his composure pretty well for a guy who's like 1558. Very, very principled. Trading rooks, though. We got two bishops in the endgame with the h-pawn. You know, Merle Dixon, there's still... Too Shark, what's up? You know, there's still hope here for white. Those bishops, if that pawn gets down there, we're just raking. I'm very concerned now that maybe black is going under in the h-pawn down the board mode. That looks really, really gross. And he found it, rook g5. I mean, this move trades down to a pure minor piece ending. It would reduce black's counterplay in attacking against the white king too. Maybe this is some sort of draw, but I don't think it's easy by any means. Black has the better structure for Isolanis for white. But this, how do we stop it, actually? Now bishop f4, but why bishop f4? Oh, the pawn is hanging, has to. Okay, let's see. Here, and that stops h4. No need to play that. So improve black's position somehow. King d7, king to the center. Now h4 is just like flailing around. Black's starting to have time pressure with 1 minute 1.4 minutes. So improve the position. King d7. This doesn't improve the position. He's flailing. This might improve white's position. Now, I mean, just king e3. I mean, even just a straight up bishop endgame is probably winning for white because this h-pawn is so freaking strong right now. So I think that Scoble could just play king e3. Okay, maybe black doesn't exchange. Play for some tricky tracks. Tricky checks. Chicky tracks. That's my new catchphrase. Chicky tracks. The dyslexic tactical player. That'll be the new stream. My next stream title. Chicky tracks for the dyslexic chess player. Alright, let's go. A6. Did I improve it in games? What? I like how... What? You judge positions without even looking at the engine. How did you improve in endgames myself? Like John Fedorovich says, I just learned by playing to a large extent. I did study, like, I had the Encyclopedia of Endgames from Chess Informant and some other books. But, I mean, I studied endgame books. I did, you know. Not, like, religiously, but along with other things. Yeah, this is a bit weird. It feels like White's playing for tricks. Tricky checks again. Chicky tricks. H4 is... That's the idea. Come on, let's get it going. You know, F4 is like a cheapo. F4 is a cheapo. It might even like interfere with our king, like trying to go to like E3, F4, G5 in some lines. There's just no need for this. This pawn isn't going anywhere. Scoble's just playing cheapo here and wasting time. Man, he's another like one move threat. This is like the bullet player coming out, you know. Let's just make every one move threat that we see. Why? You know, let's not and make constructive moves. Move the H pawn down the board. Then C4. Maybe black should just play B6. It's a little bit... But the problem with B6 though, it's safer, but it also doesn't save time. With C4 we threaten something and so gain the tempo, essentially. Bishop here. Now these bishops are looking pretty good. Scanning both sides of the board. But White's king is slightly better. Yeah, I don't know. With those bishops, you're not going to queen anything. This is passive reactionary move here. Now we've got a problem. Black's starting to coordinate. He's actually mobilized himself really well. So it looks like the pivotal moment here was really playing C3. This is like the last chance to advance his passed pawn, but Scoble just didn't really seem to have that concept. He's just thinking more defensively and thinking about playing fast. But now he's like clinging to his pawn. And meanwhile, black now going to draw easily. At the very least, you could just like simplify all the pawns and probably sack one of your minor pieces for the H pawn. It's probably an easy draw now. Okay, you don't want to let this get out of control. And he did. So, black a little too aggressive here. Bring the king to the center and stop the H-pawn. He's holding if he gets his king in the game. This is a blunder. And no. The king is in a nice position. It's stopping the pawn. Go. This Scoble had a million chances to play H5. It's just... Chicky tracks. Actually, tracks. Chicky. No, it's tracks. Tracks won't make sense. It doesn't sound right. Tracks. Actually, tracks. Sorry. Tracks. Tracks like Star Trek. Chicky tracks. I think I've had too much beer and not enough sleep. All right. No, not too much beer. Just not enough rest. So that's instructive. You know, how many chances did Scoble have to like move his H-pawn and he just didn't do it? I agree C3 is understandable, man. I mean, if you got like 5 seconds left, or 10 seconds, or 15 seconds, or 30 seconds, or 45 seconds, but he had like a minute and 40 seconds. I mean, you know, you got to at least stop and think about pushing your passed pawn. Black's not going anywhere. I mean, these bishops are stopping everything. Those pawns are not getting through. You know, you don't have to worry about black winning this position. The only question is black losing or not, you know? And White was too concerned about, like, really, I think, you know, the time and playing fast. But he misses a key resource. And this was a weird move. You definitely want to stay in the center with King D4. So instructed mistakes in the endgame. 101. I was impressed by Naj Papa. I mean, as I mentioned in a previous stream, I played someone who drew me with very good endgame technique and a low rating. You don't see a lot of low-rated players who play the endgame really well. And Naj Papa defended this like a champ. Like an old hand, almost. King D7, Bishop C3, Bishop F5 check, King D2, and now Knight E4 check. Looks like it just simplifies to a draw. Even if you lose the pawn, it's not going to be enough pawns left. Now we reach the theoretical position. As long as you don't do something crazy and like trade bishops. Whoa. So again, there's some insane move here for White. Computer is saying that h5 is... What do we got? 1, 2, 3. So we need to capture something before it's table base. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4... Isn't the 7-piece table basis supposed to be on? I thought that lichess activated 7-piece table bases, but they're not in the... Oh, there it is. Wait. No, it only has 2 lines. I gotta believe this is a draw. But let's see. h5. King somewhere. Bishop takes c4. Now it's gotta be table base. So it's a draw. Okay. Computer's all excited. Yeah, I don't know. It's nothing. But I agree that Notch Papa played the endgame like a pro. It's just a draw. His technique was impressive. This doesn't matter. I mean, I want to go back in the corner. You know, there you go. Now there's no way you can possibly win. Not in a million years. His technique was very impressive for his rating. You know. No, there was 7 pieces too sharp. It's 8 now. No, it was down to 7. When it was down to 7. Where are we at 7 pieces? Oh, it was 8 when I was claiming it was 7. Sorry. My bad. Alright, anyway, it's a draw, guys. Interesting game. I'm glad you brought that up, Merle. Nice submission. So, that was definitely worth looking at. I'm going to just finish up the stream, guys. It's 9 o'clock. So, thanks, everybody, for watching and tuning in. It's about time to end the stream. I started just after 6:30. So, that'll do it for tonight. I think we got to all of our submissions. Friday, we've got another stream coming up at... So it's 10 a.m. tomorrow, CEST here, Central European Summer Time, for as far as it's gonna last. And it'll be Fast Blitz tomorrow, 5+3 casual challenges against all comers on the stream. Thanks everybody for watching and subscribing. Again, thanks Clash Kid for resubscribing 14 months in a row. Merle Dixon for the donation. Okay, I'll take a look. We've got a minute or 2 left, so I'll take a look. So you said it ends in stalemate. I didn't think it was relevant, the end here. There's absolutely no way for White to make progress. I mean, that's like you don't want your pawn fixed on a white square. But actually here, you know, I think that we played this a little inaccuracy. Let's see. Bishop c2 is good. I mean, there's another way to defend this, probably. No, actually not. This is best. Alright, bishop c2 here. Oh, this is cute. So he goes for bishop takes f5. Yeah, why not? It's just the wrong color rook pawn. Very, very standard. Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. I didn't even think about that. But, I mean, the funny part about it is that you don't need to sacrifice the bishop for the stalemate, you know? I didn't even think about it because I was like, it's a draw anyway. You know what I mean? Normally when you're making this bishop sacrifice, you're like doing it because you don't have any other options. But it's a draw anyway. He doesn't need bishop takes f5 to make a draw here. Merle Dixon, thank you again for another donation. Am I entering the title tournament? Absolutely not. I'm falling asleep. Right now, is tonight at the title tournament? When is the title tournament? This weekend? I never play in that because I hate 1-minute chess. Bishop takes f5. Yeah. But the funny story about bishop takes f5, I've told it before. It's not really brilliant. I mean, this is a stock position. You just have to know that rook pawn and bishop and the wrong colored rook pawn queening on the wrong square, it's a standard draw. But there is a funny position, a funny story about it. Like back in the late 90s, there was this guy, actually it was I guess around 2000. There was this guy Yoshihari Habu who was like one of the best shogi players in Japan, okay? I guess he's still alive, I don't know. And he decided he wanted to get into chess, so he took up chess and he like quickly got to like 2300. But he knew very little of the actual like concrete theory, you know. And the thing is, I mean, he never read, I guess, that many chess books and technical endgames. He didn't know that well. And he had this game. I had a draw with him once. He was kind of tactical and tricky, but he had this game where he was totally winning, absolutely winning, and then he just allowed the guy to do this, you know, basically voluntarily let him draw by. He didn't know, you know, he assumed that all bishop and pawn up endgames were wins, and he just like voluntarily let the guy do do this, and he was surprised to realize that it was stalemate at the end of the game. You know, like there's no 2300 player in the world who doesn't know this is a stock draw, except for Yoshihari Habu, who was, because he was a shogi player, not a chess player, he was capable of playing 2300, but he just didn't know, you know, so he learned the hard way. Anyway, everybody, thanks for watching and subscribing here. We'll play out the last few moves just to illustrate how this works. But like once you get in the corner, there's no way to actually win. So actually they didn't play it out too far. I mean, it's a stalemate right away. But, you know, at least he should take on f6 and prove it, you know, show how this works. Like here, here, here. And eventually, you got no way to force it through to h8. There's always a stalemate. Whatever you do, there's always going to be a stalemate. So that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's a very important endgame masturbate. You're not a 2300 player, of course. You know, you're supposed to not know how this works till someone teaches you. Exactly. So I'm glad that, you know, Merle actually reminded me to play out the rest of the game. I had no idea that there would be the piece sacrifice, and I mean, the other thing is that the reason why I didn't really pay attention was that it doesn't matter, you know. My point was here, 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 here. You don't need to play bishop takes f5. If you see the engine, it's saying like bishop b3, for example, keeping the king away. You know, here, king e7. Let's see how it would go down. You know, bishop c2. And we can always keep this in reserve, h5. But I'm just thinking, like, maybe we don't need bishop takes f5. We just let him do this. What's he going to do? H6 check, here takes, and then we sack our bishop for the last pawn. Whatever. It's all a draw, everything. Alright guys, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching and subscribing, and I will thank Merle Dixon for your donations, and thank the Clash Kid for resubscribing. I will see you guys later tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Panda. Thanks, everybody. Laters.